Lucy here, and I'll be showing you everything you need to know about moderating your upcoming telephone town hall with Stone's phones. Our team believes in the power of one-on-one conversations, and this convenient engagement tool is just like hosting a time-tested, in-person town hall meeting, except participants can engage with your team from the comfort of their own homes. Your audience can listen, ask questions, take polls, and even make donations using their telephone keypads. And your job as moderator is an important one. You're the master of ceremonies for the event, welcoming participants to the call, introducing the speakers, choosing which pre-screened questions to take live on the air, directing questions to the appropriate speaker, and running any poll questions your team decides to ask. But you're not in this alone. You'll have a behind-the-scenes support network to keep the event running smoothly. You've got a Stone's Phone staffer, like me, for questions and technical assistance, and a team of screeners who will pre-screen all incoming questions for you. If your organization or campaign is accepting donations, a team of collectors will be available to process those throughout the event. Now, to be a moderator, all you need is a phone in a quiet location, preferably a landline, and a computer with good internet connection. Let's take a look at how the telephone town hall moderating process works with our online interface. About 15 minutes before the event begins, you'll want to log into your online portal. Just go to admin.teletownhall.us and enter your unique login and password. Once you're logged in, you'll see a list of roles on the far right side of the screen. Just click on the word speaker, and a new window will open. Making this new window full screen will make managing a few pop-up windows a bit easier. In most cases, only the moderator and a Stone support staffer will have access to the speaker control screen. Other speakers on the call can simply dial in and focus on engaging with the audience. If they want to see a control panel, we recommend using the observer screen for that purpose. Once your speaker control screen is open and in full screen, you'll see a pop-up box that says Attention with your unique speaker line dial-in number. You can use your phone to dial it manually, or just enter your own phone number in the blank text box, click Place Call, and the system calls you. Then X out of that window or move it off to the side of your screen to get it out of your way. Now that you're logged in and called in, you're almost finished setting up for your telephone town hall. Finally, click on the Staff Chat button at the bottom of your screen, and your Staff Chat window will open. All you have to do is enter your name and click OK. Staff Chat is the instant messaging feature for the event that allows the moderator, Stone staffers, screeners, and any collectors to all communicate during the event. You can click and drag your Staff Chat box and move it out of the way, but still keep an eye out for incoming messages. Again, we recommend logging into the online portal, opening the speaker control, dialing into the speaker line, and signing into Staff Chat at least 15 minutes before the event begins. Same goes for your Stone's Phone staffer, all screeners, and collectors if you're taking donations. Any other speakers for the event should also be calling in 15 minutes early so we can conduct a sound check and review some best practices. This also gives folks time to set up, do any troubleshooting, ask last-minute questions, and for you to review your event agenda with your speakers. Before the dial-out begins, only people called into the speaker line, you, the other speakers, and your Stone staffer can hear the call. Screeners and collectors can hear, even though their lines are muted. So you've finished your sound check, and everyone is ready for the telephone town hall to begin. Your Stone staffer will contact an operator, bring them on the call to confirm that everyone is ready to start, and the dial-out will begin. Having an operator start the dial-out prevents anyone from accidentally starting the call before your team is ready. Once the dial-out starts, you will see the dial progress bar moving. This shows you how much of the data we've called through in real time. The dial-out usually takes a few minutes, so we can get as many participants on the line as possible. It's tempting to wait for everyone to be on the line before you start speaking, but any silence will quickly lead to participants hanging up. So as soon as the first few participants are on the line, your Stone's Phone staffer will give you a verbal cue, like, "Let's get started," to begin speaking. That's when you'll start your rolling introductions to tell folks what the conversation is about, who is speaking, and that they can press 0 if they want to ask a question. Something like, "Before we begin, I want to remind you that this is a conversation. If you have a question now or at any point during tonight's event, simply press 0 to be connected with one of our volunteer operators." If you're accepting donations, you can also tell folks to press 7 to make a contribution anytime during the event. These rolling introductions keep participants on the line while also making sure we reach critical mass before diving into the meat of the conversation. You're usually safe to introduce the first speaker after 2 to 3 minutes. Now let's look at some of the other information available to you on screen. At the very top, you will see the total number of people joining the conference. This gives you a running tally of how many people participated for any amount of time. Next, you'll see messages left. That's just the number of answering machine messages left for folks who didn't pick up their phones during the dial-out. People in Conference Now is how many people are listening and participating at that moment in time. If you keep an eye on that number, you'll be able to track when people start dropping off the call. Speaker queue shows how many questions have been pre-screened and passed along to you to choose from. The screener queue are people who have pressed 0 to ask a question and are waiting to be screened. The next thing you will see is the collector queue. This shows the number of people who have pressed 7 on their phone and are waiting to have their donations collected if your event includes that option. If you give any invitees the participation line in advance, people waiting to join will tell you how many people have called in before your event begins. Finally, you'll see the conference timer so you can track how long the event has been going on for. Now that your event is successfully underway and you're using the information in the top left corner of your screen to track how the call is going, let's talk about some best practices for moderators. As the master of ceremonies, it's your job to keep participants excited and engaged. When I moderate, I write myself a little note that says, "Smile, Lucy." Remembering to smile is a silly trick that will help keep your voice from drifting into monotone. Next, avoid silence at all costs. Silence always leads to participants hanging up. If you ever find yourself in a moment of silence and you need a few moments to remember what comes next, just use that time to remind folks to press 0 to ask a question. You really can't tell participants to press 0 too many times throughout the event. If someone presses 0 to ask a question, they'll be placed in the screener queue. They continue listening to the call until they are pulled away from the event for the screening process. Your screeners will speak with people one-on-one, verify their name and where they're from, and type out a summary of their question. If the participant has a good, on-topic question, the screener will add that person to your speaker queue. The participant will then return listening to the event as their name and question pop up in the center of your screen. You can sort through these questions as they come in and put the questions you want to take at the top of the screen by right-clicking and selecting Move Up or Move to the Top. If you see a question that you definitely don't want to take, just click Remove. Again, you'll want to remind participants throughout the event to press 0 to ask a question. When it's time to bring someone live, click their question, then Allow to speak. As you're doing this, you can say something like, "Our first question comes from Elise in Chicago about this new legislation. Elise, you're live on air." Revealing the question's topic will help ensure the participant asks the pre-screened question. Once they finish asking their question, you'll want to press the mute button to allow the speakers to respond without being interrupted. The mute button is also helpful if someone starts to ramble or is taking up too much airtime. You can regain control of the event by finding the right time to interrupt them and clicking the mute button. Remember, if you're cringing, so is the rest of your audience. It's also possible to unmute a participant if one of your speakers asks them a follow-up question. We don't recommend spending too much time going back and forth with the same participant, but if one of your speakers says, "Did I answer your question, Elise?" you can just click Unmute. Once the participant's question has been answered, simply click Disallow to speak, and you'll be able to take the next participant's question live on air. I always like to thank the participant for their question, saying something like, "Thanks, Elise, for such a thoughtful question." Remember, you have to click Disallow to speak before you can bring a different participant live. If you bring someone live and they seem to have walked away from the phone, you can say something like, "It looks like Alex isn't on the line with us anymore, but they had a question about this new legislation." You can use the question summary your screen has recorded to ask the question on the missing participant's behalf. In addition to bringing participants live on air to create an interactive telephone town hall experience, the moderator is also charged with starting and stopping any poll questions. Simply locate the polling questions bar and click the drop-down arrow. Here, you'll see a list of pre-programmed polling questions and possible responses that your team submitted. If you want to shuffle through them, just use the right and left arrows at the bottom of the box. To start a poll, click Start Question as you read the questions and possible responses aloud. We recommend repeating the question and possible responses twice. For example, do you support the proposed legislation? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, or 3 for maybe. Again, do you support the proposed legislation? Press 1 right now for yes, 2 for no, or 3 for maybe. You'll see the responses pouring in real time. That first number is how many participants chose that option, and the second number is the percentage of folks who took the poll and chose that option. Once responses have stopped coming in, click Stop Question to record that data. The final results for your polls will appear on the right, and you can scroll through all the final poll results to read them aloud throughout the event. As you wait for results to come in, be sure to continue with the content of your event. Remember, the less silence there is, the more likely participants are to stay on the line. You can simply come back and read the results later in the call. We recommend you read the percentages rather than the raw numbers. They provide an easy-to-understand snapshot for participants. If you need to minimize the polling question window at any time, just click on the same arrow you used to expand it. Besides asking questions live, participating in polls, or pressing 7 to donate, your audience has yet another way to engage with your event. When the telephone town hall is over, participants will have the option to leave a voicemail with unanswered questions they have, or you can prompt them to record a supportive statement for your efforts to be used in the future. Be sure to mention these options in your closing remarks. Participants need to know to stay on the line until the end of the call if they want to leave a voicemail with any questions or supportive statements. And that's it. At the end of your closing remarks, you can just hang up your phone and close your screen. Your Stone staffer will shut down the event's phone line on their end. If you have any more questions or concerns, please feel free to ask a Stone's Phones team member at any time. We want your telephone town hall to be a success, and we'll work closely beside you to ensure that it is. We know your constituents, members, or supporters are the lifeblood of your efforts. Together, we can help give them a voice.